How many hearts have you broken with those great big beautiful eyes? Those great big beautiful eyes that tell such beautiful lies.
How many times have you kissed somebody like you kissed me then? I don't.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all ships at sea. We interrupt this broadcast to bring you an important message from the Prepared Mind Network.
There are public figures today, yesterday, and the day before predicting and all but calling for mass violence and rioting in the streets.
Obviously, Republicans, I think, are the biggest threat to democracy. We don't separate right-wing extremists and Republican Party anymore. Republicans, I think, are the biggest threat to democracy. We don't separate right-wing extremists and Republican Party anymore. Republicans are the biggest threat to democracy.
This means war. That is where we are. We are at war with these people. These folks are evil.
And all but calling for mass violence and rioting in the streets.
This means war.
You wanted to think you need to have weapons to take on the government. You need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons.
We are at war with these people.
Yeah. We're at war. They are at war with you folks. They really believe so. Biden's at war with us over energy, First Amendment, Second Amendment, the border. He's at war with peace. He seems to be promoting war at every turn by sending billions. It seems like billions of dollars a day, not in big chunks anymore, not the 60, 70, 80 billion that he would love to push through. But I guess if he just does $1 billion a day, then no one will fucking notice, huh? That's what we're dealing with here, folks. Welcome to the Prepared Mind channel, where we're going to talk about shit hitting the fan. And it has hit the fan. Today is January 2nd, 2025. Considering the first is a holiday, as we recover from our libation consumption. The second is the first real business day. And we already have 2 terror attacks under the Joe Biden administration that we're dealing with here. And there's a lot to digest, a lot to deal with. Get your questions down below. We've got Facebook, we've got X, we've got YouTube somewhere out there. We got Rumble, BitChute, and of course the preparedmind.club. And I want to thank everybody for sponsoring and supporting. Those little dollars trickles in, it pays for everything, folks. Keeps the lights on, keeps the refrigerator humming, keeps the tuna fish and spam going. I want to remind everybody to make sure you've got lots of bacon for SHTF, because the bad guys out there, they don't like bacon. That's right. The jihadi Islamic dudes, they're non-bacon lovers, and it scares them. That's right. These guys do not like bacon. They'll do everything they can to rape your daughters, your granddaughters, your wives, but they're afraid of pork products. They believe that they won't get to heaven, where they'll get 72 goat virgins, I guess. They're really sick people, folks. And they're showing us their colors. We had one of them, and it's not Islamophobia. I'm not afraid of them. I just know what they are and what they believe. They understand violence. That's all they understand. In terms of respect, fear, and obedience, the only thing they know is violence, because they have the IQs of dogs. Dogs, they understand, well, actually, they may be lower than dogs, because at least dogs understand positive reinforcement. These people do not. And I don't want to dehumanize them too much, but they don't act like people, in as much as we respected them as human beings, and they've shit on us, right? One of these jihadis attacks people, kills, maims, murders in terror in New Orleans. And the next day, all of their pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian, pro-Hezbollah, pro-ISIS, and pro-Al-Qaeda people are out on the streets, not just saying we want free speech, but declaring a worldwide intifada, a jihad against all of us, a holy war. Since when did they change it from jihad to intifada? Oh man, I just feel like I miss some things sometimes. Jihad, isn't it cool enough anymore? Anyways, here we are. That's the room we're in. That's where we're at. And then we had the truck blow up outside of Trump's hotel casino in Vegas. And that guy, the story behind him is getting crazier. Someone, his dad or some family members trying to say he was a Trump supporter. Really? Kind of hard to believe. And he was dead from a gunshot wound in the vehicle, which sat in front of the Trump hotel for 15 minutes or more. That's the news. That's the story. He just sat out there for 15 minutes. And he was dead first, and then the bomb blew up. So it is a Tesla vehicle. And if I understand correctly, they can be remote controlled and driven, period. Like I watched a friend of mine pull his Tesla up to a restaurant. He's like, watch this. The car pulls out of the parking spot, comes right over to the restaurant. I'm like, dude, you run someone over, you're paying for that. And that's not the smartest thing. I don't care how cool it is. But in any event, could this guy have had have someone bust a cap in the back of his skull, right? Put him in the car and then throw the gun on the floor, drive him over there and then remote detonate it? Or was this guy who has been recruiting military veterans who had just been discharged to send them over to Ukraine? That's apparently what he's been doing. But he's a Trump supporter, but right, doesn't make any sense. But he could make improvised explosive devices and put them on a timer, but he didn't trust neither his bomb or his timer, so he shot himself first. It just doesn't make sense. But it's definitely terrorism. Definitely terrorism. By the way, the police chief in New Orleans, Louisiana, she was the one who was fired in Oakland. By the way, I think she won a $1.5 million lawsuit. She gets hired by New Orleans. They didn't look at her resume. Let's see, got fired in Oakland and sued the shit out of them. Let's hire her. She looks like the grandma off the Beverly Hillbillies, right? What is this, some kind of DEIAARP? Let's get some more letters in there, right? So she didn't know that there's these steel posts that come up out of the ground and stop traffic from going where only pedestrians are supposed to go. Those were disabled. They were not in the up position, allowing the terrorists to blast through there and hurt people, kill people, maim people. And she didn't even know, that the chief of police, that those existed. Incompetence, incompetence, incompetence. Uman says the steel posts were supposedly in the process of being replaced. Perfect timing. Yep. You just can't, Good thing these terrorists know when things are down for maintenance. I mean, really, how long? Maintenance, replacement. Well, you spend a couple of $1 million to bury these fucking things in the ground, and they're like, they've been in there a couple of years. Let's replace them. We need some new, cooler ones. Just a big fat wow. The town I'm in, the barricades here are actual old barricades. I guess they've got hundreds of millions of dollars just to throw around. Probably some of that Biden money they got thrown out there. And speaking of Biden is he's attempting to permanently ban offshore drilling for oil and gas in his final efforts to stop Trump's energy agenda, which is drill, baby, drill, be energy independent, be an energy leader in the world. And now here's the deal. If Biden signs a piece of paper, executive order, he can't permanently do shit. All Trump has to do is permanently erase his shit, right? Anything he does with an executive order, I'm talking about Biden, can be undone by Trump with the stroke of his pen. It's incredible. I mean, if you could write, this is a permanent rule and I'm the president, then every president would do that. Just, it's crazy business, folks. Crazy, cray. Get your questions in the comment section. If you're on Facebook or X, or, I mean, we've got the club. Jolene likes to forward questions out of the club, and Uman will put them up there. X. And if you're on X, pay attention to Uman. He's going to be giving instructions on how to make sure you get in there, and you can really mix it up in the comment section. Folks, the channel is an educational channel. It really is educational. We're educating one another. You guys are giving me information, thoughts, opinions, and we chit chat. I mean, I do this. I wish I could do it all day, every day as a job, but apparently, you know, unless I got kittens playing with yarn, I'm an OnlyFans person, and I'm not going to make enough money online. I'm going to have to dig up that idea that Vaughn of the R Syndicate, Vaughn, Arizona Unplugged, Vaughn, a backcountry prepper. He wanted to do a prepper calendar, swimsuit calendar. Uman, are you up for that? No, he's waving me off. I'm like, dude, you could wear like a banana hammock with a puffy coat and a baseball hat because you're up in Chicago. Chicks dig that. You can go stand on the ice, do some ice fishing in your bikini underwear. Nope, not going to happen, folks. It's just not going to happen. But I did start my diet. I need to get down to a fit and trim 260 pounds, I think. That's my goal. Started I'm doing the caveman / keto diet, you know, where I just eat things that cavemen eat. And it should be good. Hopefully I get in some shape here, some better shape. That's the goal. Better shape. All right. Now, we're going to do our 1 hour show, folks. And I want you to get your questions down below. You know, what was interesting about this, the shooter in not shooter, he shot himself, I guess. The Tesla Cybertruck bomber, is he's the first, I think, suicide bomber that I can think of in America. Because he blew himself up, right? He committed suicide with a bomb. You know, so that's interesting. But he's a suicide bomber. What's his motive? Does he have a manifesto? Social media? Who is this guy, right? And the FBI is doing what they do best. They're not saying anything. They're not letting information out. They're denying he's a terrorist. I'm sure they're doing everything they always done. But at some point, it's going to slip out. Yeah, he was on our radar, but yeah, we missed it. Anyway, the dude's name is Matthew Livelsberger. Shot himself. Wow. All right, and I've got a special shout out here for Steve Farnsworth. Dad. Anyways, he I got a request for this, and I'm just glad that I ran into the conversation again. Steve Farnsworth, Semper Fi, man. Get prepared, stay prepared. Don't stop. Protect the family every generation, folks. And that message actually is for all of us. Get prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Get it done. Now, anyways, I've been back to work, folks, January 2nd. Now, speaking of being prepared, we had best be prepared. A former CIA officer has come out and been talking to the media. And folks, you and I are the media. Says there are more than 1,000 Al-Qaeda sleepers in the U.S., and they're planning major attacks on the United States of America, our homeland. Do you believe that? That there's more than 1,000 Al-Qaeda sleeper cells or individual lone wolf terrorists? Well, we just got 2. Two, potentially. Now, what's the difference between Al Qaeda and ISIS and ICE and Hezbollah? And none. They all use the same playbook. It's called the Quran, right? They believe that, and it says, well, you convert infidels or you kill them, and it's awful. This mentality they have, and don't you dare say anything about it, or you're an Islamophobe. You're a racist, really. Well, today, folks, Elon Musk, Trump, everybody who is conservative and loves freedom and liberty and respects the rights of others are screaming and yelling at England, the United Kingdom. It turns out that hundreds of thousands of young women in England have been raped by what they're calling groomer gangs. They're not groomer gangs, they're rape gangs. It's not, grooming is not actually raping someone, but they're calling them groomer gangs. Groom my ass. Like they said, hey, how would you like to with all these donkey screw jobs, right? No. It's not Islamophobia to point out the person who committed the crime and explain what their mentality was. Are these just regular criminals? No, they believe that's acceptable in their religion. It's a religious belief and a religious practice to take anybody that isn't part of their religion, that isn't behaving the way they prescribe, and rape them or murder them and cut off their head. No problem. Well, the police in England, the ministers of parliament, the prime minister himself, they've all been hiding this information intentionally because they didn't want to sound like they were Islamophobes, like they were racists. So they have hidden from the rest of the country, hidden from them that this is going on to save face, to try and look and sound like they weren't Islamophobic rapists. Well, it is a religion and a belief system. I don't even think it's a religion. I think it's a wild, pedophilic fruitcake that 1400 years ago wrote a book that other people believed is real. And ever since then, they've been killing, raping, stabbing, murdering, and conquering people. That's their justification. I just can't support it. I can't support it. Just like I cannot support the Catholic Inquisition. I can't support the Albigensian Crusades, right? Attacking and killing other people because they aren't hurting anyone, but you don't like their belief system, so you hurt them. In any event, folks, these sleeper cells are here in America. They're going to be activated. They've already started. They're already activated. What is your opinion of them? What are you thinking? I want your thoughts down below. If not for a question for me, at least put your opinion down there for others to read so they understand other perspectives. A lot of people are so afraid to say anything because nobody else will talk. They're all scared. Oh, don't get... In England, you post something that makes someone uncomfortable, they'll arrest you. If you're a Pakistani or a Muslim from any number of Muslim countries and you rape little girls, you don't go to jail. But if you make someone uncomfortable, you go to jail. England is lost. I really think the United States of America needs to boycott England. I love real English people and real Scots and real Welsh and real Irish, but we need to boycott the government, boycott the country so the government's under pressure and tell them, you either knock this shit off and clean that shit up, or we're just not going to deal with you anymore. Period. Fuck it. Look, what am I going to eat? Fucking English crumpets and scones? No, I'm now on a keto diet. No scones for me. And I won't buy any more tea, especially if they've got extra tax on it. That old Boston Tea Party thing is making my blood boil. Anyways, good golly. The terrorism continues. Mass shooting reported in a New York nightclub. Who was that? The usual suspects? I don't know. Anyways, these anti-American Muslim types, they're going to clam up. In fact, a Houston mosque was where the New Orleans terrorist, well, he attended there regularly. The mosque is telling members, do not speak to the FBI. The mosque is telling its members, if the FBI contacts you, tell them to call CAIR, C-A-I-R, C-A-I-R, CAIR. That is the radical pro-Muslim defense legal network, whatever organization. It's kind of like the Southern Poverty Law Center for jihadis. So that's what they're doing. They're going to start claiming, hey, we ain't saying nothing. It's going to get nasty, folks. And I'm not happy about the way the world has turned out. I didn't want shit to hit the fan. I didn't want terrorism. I didn't want an open border. I didn't want war. I didn't want our money stolen. I didn't want the military destroyed. I didn't want relationships with other nations messed up. But here we are. Through no decision or fault of yours or mine or anyone's. It's the government's, and it's evil people. So, folks, in Houston, at least, this one mosque, and soon it'll be more, they're proving themselves adversarial at the very least and demonstrating to me that, yeah, they'll cover and protect themselves. The same way Washington, D.C. politicians protect themselves and one another. I mean, there have now been in the last year or so, last couple of years, $17 million paid in lawsuits for sexual harassment to cover and protect congressmen and women, whoever they may be, who have committed sexual harassment. And they won't tell us who they are. They won't release that. Those are actual guilty people, guilty of committing the act of sexual harassment, which is a crime. But Matt Gaetz, who has committed no crime, his investigation was released. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Anyone who doesn't stand up, if you're in government, you're supposed to take action and protect the people. If you don't, you're cowards and failures. And we've got America is full. Our leadership is full of cowards and failures and hypocrites. We need to give them instruction. Please, if you're on X, it's the best way to get a hold of politicians and respond to their posts and write to them. Just give them hell. Literally, if they're good, congratulate them, support them. If they say something or do something stupid, ride them into the ground like a bull. Congressmen, senators, everybody. Contact them, write to them. I did it today. Send messages. I even sent a message to, was it Mayorkas or no, Adam Schiff. That's right, Senator Shifty Shithead Schiff. I sent him a nice message. I think it was FOADFU. I think that's what I sent him, was an FOADFU. In any event, that was a good one. I wonder if his comments are visible for other people so they can see what I wrote them. In any event, folks, these politicians, and also in England, like Keir Starmer, they're absolutely awful. Awful. And questions below. We're going to get to you guys here in just a few minutes. And something came up. Interesting. Biden, President Biden. It still does not just sound right. It doesn't sound right, does it? Anyways. Be sure, again, thumbs up, heart, like, repost. If you're on X, repost this video. There's a repost. Repost, so that the word gets out. People see it. People understand we're talking live here. That's what we need to do every day, is talk to one another. Talk. Anyways, Biden did a New Year's Day speech. It was actually just a bunch of bullshit. But it was noted that there's marks on his face. What could it be? Well, I'll tell you what. You know what I think it is? I think this is yet another fake Biden. It's a lookalike. And he's had facial surgery to make him look like more like the real Joe. I mean, some days the guy looks like he's all spry and chipper, and other days it looks like the skin is melting off his face. And I'm not just making fun of him because he's old. In fact, I'm not making fun of him at all because he's old. I'm making fun of him because he's Biden. But yeah, they're trying to there's at least 4 Bidens. I don't know. I guess that's the way it works, I guess. And is Trump going to pardon all of the January 6th protesters that weren't violent, that aren't criminals? Is he going to let them out? Right? The January 6th patriots, there's growing evidence, number one, of election fraud in 2020. That's off the hook. And there's continuing evidence being unearthed that it's a frame job. It's a setup, from Nancy Pelosi's daughter to Nancy Pelosi's own comments, to the video footage that's leaked, and to the testimony from whistleblowers. It wasn't an insurrection. It wasn't even a riot started by the patriots. It was a riot started by the police, and it was fueled by agents provocateur. It really was. Now, this is a big deal to me today, and it pissed me off because I'm down here in Florida. Bill Gates, he thinks he's God. He thinks he can turn mosquitoes into flying Jim Jones juice makers. That's right. I believe he is a bioterrorist. Literally, he is funding a project that is turning mosquitoes into, well, flying Jim Jones juice distributors. Now, if I have to get a huge vial poked like a teaspoon, a tablespoon of injectable juice to cure me, which isn't really a cure, if that is what it takes, what are they doing with the mosquito that's just going to poke me with its little needle? They're saying that is going to cure me? I'd have to be bit by 100,000 mosquitoes, 1 million mosquitoes, to get the same volume of fluid. But hey, that's how malaria is transmitted. Bill Gates wants to transmit his special medical mRNA concoction into you. My question is, hey, I think this man is a bioterrorist, for one. But if his mosquitoes, a single mosquito, were to bite me, I think I should be able to sue him. I did not give him permission to do that. I did not authorize it. I don't allow it. In fact, I strongly prohibit it. I hereby publicly state I don't want any of that crap in me. So if I get bit by any mosquito, I should be able to sue them. Who gave him permission to do this anyways? Who did? Why does he get to try and do this to us, the people of the United States of America? I call bullshit on this. And something needs to be done to this scumbag. Really does. And a parting shot here on the monologue portion of the show. Get your questions down below into Uman. If you're on X, don't be afraid. We'll make you famous. Elon Musk, they were trying to say, oh my God, his battery blew up on the Cybertruck, and all the lefties are laughing. Ha, 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 ha. Well, turns out the explosion actually is a positive commercial for Elon Musk and Tesla, because it appears that the Cybertruck is durable. It held the explosion within, and it ended up directly blowing straight up. It didn't even break the glass. It didn't break the glass out of the doors at the front of the Trump Hotel Casino. Right? So Musk, you got a commercial out of this, right? He said, this is a quote, "The evil knuckleheads picked the wrong vehicle for a terrorist attack." Well, wait a minute, there was one guy in it. And Elon Musk said, knuckleheads. Does he know that there's more than one? Does he have more information? Does the video footage show the vehicle driving there? Does the vehicle footage, have they traced the vehicle back to see where it came from? They know who the guy is now, of course. Lots of questions, folks. Lots of questions. Uman said, wasn't there a Volkswagen commercial like that back in the 80s? Oh, there was a Pinto commercial. No, what was the Volkswagen commercial, man? I don't remember that. Do you want to come on and tell me?
Yeah, I think back in the 80s, there was a Volkswagen Jetta or something commercial where they had a guy with a turban on his head pull up in front of a little cafe, push the button, and it went poof. And it was all contained inside the car.
Yeah, those days are over, man.
Oh, yeah, you couldn't make that commercial today.
No. One of my favorites from when I was under the age of 10 was when Chevrolet was starting to sell Isuzu vehicles in the Bay Area, California Bay Area. They had two guys standing in the car dealership. One of them was white, one of them was Japanese. And the white guy says, "Man, I have a hard time saying Isuzu." And the Japanese guy looks at him and goes, "That's okay. I can't say Chevrolet." And in the Bay Area, folks, even back then in the 70s, and it's always been, I guess, a long time, because the Chinese and Japanese have been in the West Coast for well over a century. But yeah, it's a huge melting pot of different stuff, and that was a good one. The other one was there was I think it was a Cheer or a Tide commercial, and people would bring their clothes in to the laundromat.
Oh, yeah.
It had to be Chinese, because the Chinese were known for doing laundry in California.
Ancient Chinese secret.
What?
Ancient Chinese secret.
He goes, "Tell me your secret, Mr. Wong," or whatever his name was. He says, "Oh, I can't tell you. Ancient Chinese secret." And then he holds up the box of, detergent. It was probably all temperature Cheer. Yeah, anyways, good stuff.
Yeah,
the
I
old
remember
days,
that.
man. When we accepted that we were different and had fun with it, and people weren't blowing people up. You know?
Can you just imagine Blazing Saddles being recut? It would be about 5 minutes long.
Yeah. There'd be no words. Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to get a trailer out of it.
Blazing Saddles. Man, what a movie. Watch Blazing Saddles, folks, and discover if you have a sense of humor or if you cringe the whole fucking time. I love it when the sheriff tries talking to the lady, and she's like, "Get out of my way." And anyways, that movie. Let's do this. Let's go and let's have some fun with round 2 or part 2.
All right.
Anyways, man, thank you very much, sir. Love it when you come on and we have a little bantering. But now it's time for the Inner Circle with you guys on subscribestar.com, thepreparedmind.club, X, Facebook, and you name it. We're everywhere now. Here we are, man. All right, Mr. Uman, I think you've got some questions lined up from the audience. And it's my good friend from way up north, up in New England. When I first saw his name, I thought it was Orlando from Orlando, Florida. Not so. He says, "John, time to play whack-a-mole, brother. Shit's starting to get out of hand." This is interesting, Orlando. I really thought we would have violence leading up to the election. And then right after the election, when Trump won, I was like, okay, but they couldn't get any energy out of Antifa or BLM or any of these domestic terrorists. So now it's time for the imported terrorists to give it a shot, and they're stepping up. They're marching in Toronto. They're marching in Ontario. Is it Ontario? Ottawa. They're marching in American cities, New York City. These pro-Hamas, anti-American, flag-burning pieces of shit. I have no love for them. I think that if they're here from another country, they should have their work visa, student visa, just eliminated, done, poof, gone. I think before they're allowed on a plane to come to America, they have to eat a piece of bacon. Cooked, of course, not raw. I'm not a mean person that way. But if they're, and I really believe that if they are a naturalized citizen, that is to say, someone who came to America and became a U.S. citizen, not born here, that if you don't like America, you should be stripped of your citizenship, have it removed, and deport your ass back. Period. We don't want you. We don't need you. And I'm telling you, 99% of the time, any of these fucking people that hate America, they don't have real jobs. They're not actually producing anything. Right? I don't like to use the word society. They're not doing anything to contribute to society. Well, I don't care about society. I care about law and order. I care about productivity. Are you making goods, food, products, improving anything, transportation, something? Are you productive? Right? Society should be America, our traditions and cultures. That should be it. In any event, I know I'm going to start wandering, but Orlando, it is starting to get out of hand. If you remember back with St. George Floyd, by the way, every one of his statues should be removed, melted down, and turned into something productive. All right, like, I don't know, shell casings or septic tanks. Everyone needs a George Floyd septic tank to shit in. Okay, I know they're made out of concrete. I'm a general contractor, but I'm just thinking, we can use the steel in a septic tank. Okay, George Floyd, when that went off, it took what? Less than a day, and there were idiots everywhere that started burning cars, police stations, attacking cops and businesses. You bet. And it was encouraged by the media, encouraged by local politicians, encouraged and allowed by state politicians, encouraged and allowed by even the police. And remember when local police, state police, some sheriff's departments, and an awful lot of federal agents like the FBI took a knee. Do they even know how fucking stupid they look? Taking a knee. Just fuck. Okay, man, let's roll. There's no other words. Thanks, Orlando. All right, we got name redacted. He says, listen to that opening sentence. Never forget. Stop expecting you from other people, even those close to you. Operate like you're on your own. You won't get in over your head that way. Never forget. Stop expecting you from other people. I don't know where to go with that or direct that.
I think what he means is stop expecting other people to be like you.
Like me?
Like yourself. All of us. I can't expect anybody else to perform like me if things go bad.
Okay. I can go with that.
All right.
I can go, yeah. No, it makes sense. It's just I don't expect it. I try and inspire it. I want it to be more like me, not large and Swedish, but rather self-sufficient. Right? Not to.
Yeah, but we can't. I think what he's saying is we can't default to believing others will be like that.
No, it's not. And that's why I'm trying so hard to encourage or inspire people, is because when things go bad, there's a name redacted is right here. They're not going to be anything like us. They're going to go off the deep end. If you don't have food and water, they're going to be desperate and upset. If they don't have self-defense, they're going to call on other people. If they do have self-defense, they're going to attack people. Yeah. But if you build a great group, right? Operate like you're on your own. I can't. I even though I've got the Prepared Mind bunker, there's other people around me. Florida's a very, what do we call it, populous state. Florida's a very populous state. So I can't pretend. It's not like I was in California. In California, folks, I live 13 miles from the nearest gas station. I was hell and gone. And so I was, in a lot of ways, on my own, with the exception of my group. But yeah, I mean, but see, it's an odd statement from Name Redacted. Even those close to you, nobody's close to me, but maybe I'm different than everyone else, right? People that are close to me, they are like me, or they wouldn't be close to me.
Right. Well, I have some that are close to me that I know would not fare well. But
Okay, yeah.
I know that my three boys would be perfectly fine, and I could count on them 100%.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of people, and I don't know if they can be close like me. Either they're not a veteran, or they're not trained with firearms, or they don't have the mentality to look past tomorrow or today and see what could happen and the downstream. Like I never expected that there'd be trouble, right? Anyways, yeah, I don't expect it. I just hope other people do, and I try and inspire it. Anyways, a good comment, just kind of caught me off guard. Anyways, thank you, Mr. Man, again. Appreciate that. Thank you, Name Redacted. You're always making me think, and that was good. I'm just trying to fit that in. You know, my expectations too high for others to be and operate like a free American? I think my expectation is actually low. And that's why I try so hard to get people to get fucking prepared. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, thank you again, sir, for your great support here on the show. Ooh, man, who's up next? Let's roll with Roy the Crypto Boy. He says, oh, good one. Las Vegas and New Orleans attacks have connections with Fort Bragg. Green Berets are out of Fort Bragg. It's an enormous base in North Carolina for the Army. The Florida attempt on Trump was also connected to Fort Bragg. What are your thoughts about the Fort Bragg connections? Well, the Fort Bragg connection to Florida, that attempted assassination, that guy was also recruiting people to go fight in Ukraine, just like the Las Vegas bomber was busy recruiting for people to go to Ukraine and fight against the Russians. Interestingly, people who are Democrats love this war. So if there's any military trained people that are Democrat minded and want this to fight, I just find a lot more people tend to be that are pro-Ukraine tend to be Democrats. Now, look, I'm pro-Ukraine people. I'm not pro-Ukraine war, and certainly not pro-Ukraine government or pro-Ukraine bioweapons research facilities. What do they got? 27, 29? We can't even get a straight fucking answer out of how many research facilities are over there being funded or owned by Hunter Biden and probably affiliated, allegedly, by Dr. Doom Fauci himself. And anyways, this thing about Fort Bragg connections. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of Fort Bragg soldiers. There's multiple units there training for, I mean, it's the military. It's a huge base. I drove by the military intelligence building there and spent a little bit of time right there as a Marine coming over from, our bases. I was at Cherry Point, North Carolina there for a bit. In any event, what is going on out of Fort Bragg? I mean, how strong is this connection? I don't know if just having connections with Fort Bragg is as important to me as it is the fact that these are Army veterans or military veterans. Just like the Fort Hood shooter in Texas. That was an officer, not an enlisted man. I think he was a fucking major. He's a major asshole, but a major. And they, even before DEI was DEI, they didn't want to reprimand that Muslim officer for making radical statements because they didn't want to appear racist or Islamophobic. Right? They wanted to appear open and accepting and diverse and inclusive, and instead ended up with a mass murdering fuck. So, the fact that there's so many veterans associated with this. Now, is this, and here's where my concern is, Roy. is, will Biden use this? Veterans are tied to this terrorism. Therefore, veterans are potential, terror threats, national security threats. Well, they seem to be anti-American veterans or veteran connections, in my opinion, and certainly not right-wing Republican. No, they seem to be left-wing associated. So, well, that won't stop the mainstream media, the CIA, the FBI, and Washington asswipe elites from blaming and saying this is right-wing or trying to associate it with it. And there's also, I'm waiting for the anti-gun stuff. What I don't understand is that with all these terrorists using around the world cars and trucks to kill civilians, it's almost like the vehicle is a weapon of mass destruction, almost like the garbage truck. Remember when the crazed Muslim jihadis in France drove a fucking garbage truck down a street and took out, I can't remember how many, dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of them. Yeah, I don't know if it's all Fort Bragg or if it's just they recruit, folks. They recruit. They find people. I'm actually, as much as this is a concern of mine, Roy, I have greater concerns about foreign trained terrorists who have snuck into this country. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. You don't have to have thousands of hours on the shooting range to become a danger and a threat and a mass murdering terrorist, right? You don't have to be. You just have to be trained well enough to operate a weapon and put in a position where there's a large crowd of people. In any event, let us roll on. We got Uman. He says, not all veterans are good guys just because they served. I'm going to agree with this 100%. Normally we think of someone, you think veteran, you think American flag, you think their branch of service they served. They love America. Bullshit. Not all of us. I love my country. But I recall, and I saw it again just the other day, a cadet graduating from West Point to become a military officer in the U.S. Army had inside of his cover, his hat, Marines call it the thing on your head a cover, it said, I'm a communist. And I think he had it on his shirt too. They're in there. They're going in to get training. They're going in there to convert people to their belief system to become a terrorist. Anyways, Uman says there is a left-right mix in the military as well. Yeah, there is. As usual and in the past, I have thought, if everyone thought, everyone would think more like me if they just had more information. Well, I discovered that's not true, right? People are who they are. They're not going to change who they are. So there is a left-right, or rather a patriot versus anti-American sentiment in the military. I've met people, veterans, who are fucking communists. If not communists, socialists too, right? There's lots of them. It's like, what the hell are you doing in the military? Well, if there's a communist takeover in the country, they want to be part of that. Uman continues and says, think it used to lean right, but they've made a hell of an effort to shift it left. I think where that effort is stood out, Mr. Uman, is in the Pentagon, in the brass. The military officer corps is really swung to the left because they know that, well, that's where the power is at. But the young men who want to sign up and serve their country, right, the corn-fed Nebraska white boy type looking guy, and yeah, I know there's lots of other races and Americans in there, but that's the typical enlisted man. He's not there to be a career officer, right? He's there to serve the country, get some GI Bill, right? Some college money, get some experience, and basically check that off his list. So I really believe in the enlisted corps, and especially in infantry. I think you're going to find a lot more Republican, a lot more of it than you will in the support structure within the military people. And then again, in the officers, I really believe that they've really programmed them. If regular Americans come out of college with a degree and a bunch of left-wing lunatic shit in their head, then the same would apply for officer candidates who have gone to college for 4 years and they've got their fucking bolts turned the wrong way as well. They're probably left-wing leaning. By the way, colleges need to be cleaned up. They need to be defunded, they need to be decommissioned, and they need to be decommunized. How we do that? I guess we're going to find out. I would love a collegiate great reset in this country. I really would. I really would. Anyways, we've got a great crowd here today. This is wonderful. Wunderbar. Uman, who's up next? We've got Uman again. He says, oh, wait, this is Chris. CJ Flex on X asks, I'm wondering if things could possibly get really bad before Trump takes office. This is a major concern. The belief is that, well, Biden could appoint or could step down and Kamala becomes the president. Or Biden could, through Zelensky in Ukraine, he could encourage, allow, authorize Zelensky and his military. It's not even his military. That's my problem here, is the people launching long-range missiles in Ukraine, they're American and British. You know, they could start some much worse military action. They could do a false flag military operation against us. They could cause severe chaos in this country with a military false flag. Then moving away from the military, things could get really bad. As stated earlier, St. George Floyd, a man who is a multiple felon, pointed a gun at a pregnant woman's belly in a home invasion robbery, stole her car, was on enough fentanyl to tranquilize a horse, and it killed him. That's what killed George Floyd, not the asshole cop, Derek Chauvin. He just looks like an asshole, folks. I'm sorry about that. He's not going to get an invite to any of my parties. But still, I don't think Derek Chauvin killed George Floyd. I think the fentanyl killed George Floyd. Because long before anyone touched him, put handcuffs on him, tried putting him in the car, he was complaining about not being able to breathe, a very frequent and common side effect of fentanyl overdose. But he was in the act of committing the crime of trying to pass counterfeit currency. And despite all of that, we had riots within 24 hours, within a week across the nation. So, Chris, you bet. They can definitely start up trouble. Well, once again, I talked years and years ago, before it was even done, in the San Francisco Bay Area and the South Bay, I believe they were foreign-born, quite possibly immigrants, who decided they were going to shoot transformers at a substation with a high-powered rifle, and they disabled them. They demonstrated and proved, and this was a long time ago. I think this may have even been right before or right after Trump was elected the first time. They took out, a substation which feeds hundreds of thousands of homes. Right? They did that. It can be done. They can cause chaos very quickly. I don't want to see it, but it can happen, folks. It really can. All right, Uman, who is up next? What do we got? And we got dipshit Dems. He says many more than 1,000 are here. He's talking about the terror cells, whether they're Al-Qaeda or ISIS or Hezbollah or Hamas. He says there are maybe more than 1,000 are here. And when it's go time, 50 plus cities will be hit October 7th style. Now, that's an interesting statement. So on October 7th, these goat humping assholes, October 7th of 2023, They attacked Israel. They flew ultralight aircraft into the country, into Israel, and they were also within Israel, right? So they flew in, drove in, were already in place, and they coordinated their attack and killed 1,300 Israelis. They kidnapped a bunch, and I guess over 100 are still kidnapped and I guess alive or presumed alive, and 7 of them are Americans. And Trump has threatened them, Hamas, and said, release the hostages or it's your ass. Not a direct quote. Trump will engage. Those are Americans. They might be dumbasses for being there, but I do agree with you, dipshit Dems, that, yeah, there's more than 1,000 people. But let's just say we've got 100 major cities, mega cities here in America, and it wouldn't be hard to hit them and their surrounding areas, suburbs, right? Like the Los Angeles area, the Bay Area, the Florida Bay Area, the New York City and boroughs area, Dallas, Fort Worth. You got multiple cities plus suburbs all smashed together. So you'll see multiple attacks in multiple cities. We could have this. And once one starts, the rest are going to go, there's the signal. And that could be their instructions. They could say, this is what you're going to do, dumbass. And when they got here, they supplied them with the weapons and said, right, go get a job or just keep living off your welfare and wait for the attack. Now, if you were a terrorist organization, let me ask all of you this. If you were a terrorist organization, would you rather try and attack a country that's being led by Trump as president with a Trump-appointed FBI, Department of Homeland Security, National Security Agency, and CIA? Or would you rather have dipshit Joe Biden in charge, go after the entire country, fuck it up, hope that Joe Biden declares martial law on right-wing patriots and veterans, and pretend that it's not an Islamic attack? You'd want that because you would be guaranteed a better opportunity of winning, or rather continuing to cause major harm and conflict, than if Trump is in office and he just basically says, that's it, everyone get this shit fixed now. Right? We're not going to play games with these fucking people. We're not going to play games with them. Mr. Skylight, thank you for the email. Robin G says, a rotten Obama, let them in. Barack Hussein, Barry Soetoro, Obama is responsible for this. He really is. I think he is a major player, a major puppet string puller. The man knows how to follow orders, right? The Kenyan in chief who used another name, who couldn't provide us with a birth certificate that was legitimate, who was foisted up because he was, well, an articulate black guy. According to the Democrats, that's how they described him. He's a clean, articulate black guy. So they played on everyone's guilt, their white guilt back in 2008. They played on that bullshit. Don't tell me it wasn't. It was fucking white guilt, and they could feel better about it. And they sold it with hope and change, right? But this guy has been a very useful idiot. His job was community organizer, which means terrorist rioter organizer. He was supported and loved by the people who led the Weather Underground terrorist organization out of Chicago, Illinois. The guy was an actual legitimate giant piece of shit. And to continue to be admired and heralded, he and his husband, is just disgusting. In any event, folks, get prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and a plan. My fingers just... Get prepared. And up here, chance favors the prepared mind is yours.